Welcome to the Queer Love Podcast, the silly and serious shenanigans of two queer relationship coaches. I am your host, Elizabeth Cunningham.
And I'm your host, Lee Greeps.
On this podcast, we talk about how to live your best queer life with fulfilling, healthy relationships and anything else that makes your little queer heart happy. Because living your life outside of the heteronormative scripts is totally possible for you.
Each episode, we explore all things queer love from our professional perspective as relationship coaches, our own personal experiences, and as partners.
If you love our show, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or Twitter at Queer Love Relationships. You can also check out our website, www.queerloverelationships.com.
Thanks for following us and enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Queer Love Podcast.
Woo, 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 woo. Ding, ding, ding. Adding in the bell.
It makes me think of the Judy Garland, ding, ding, ding goes the trolley. Was that Meet Me in St. Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have actually seen that one.
Have you?
Yeah, because my first partner really loved that movie.
There you go.
He was a big fan of musicals in general, so probably the reason why I saw most musicals of whatever I have seen
With
was her.
her. There you go. That makes
And
sense.
fucking Les Mis in theaters, dying the whole time, being like, "Are they gonna say one word? Just say one word. Not sing one word. Just say it."
No, they sing the whole
If
time.
I had been told that beforehand, it would have been better. But I just sat there the whole time going, "Is it?" I couldn't even focus because I was like, "Is it gonna happen yet? No, no." And then by the end of the movie, I was like, "I am highly disappointed by what just happened."
You'd think at a certain point you would just accept that they weren't going to say anything.
No, I held on to the hope. But then it started bothering me because I was like, no, they can't do this to people. They would have had to give a warning ahead of time, you know?
No. That's funny. You're funny.
But no. So I like the old school musicals where they do sing and talk and sing and talk.
I
I
mean,
appreciate,
that's most musicals.
yeah, I appreciate those ones.
I was just talking about Mamma Mia with my mom today. I've been having the Mamma Mia songs get stuck in my head. Well, especially because I went to a wedding recently. So, there's like a bunch of ABBA songs at the wedding.
Like,
So,
yeah, ABBA is made for those kinds of events.
yeah.
That and gay bars. That's what ABBA is made for.
Yeah.
Weddings and gay bars. ABBA.
What? It is. That's true. And even if that's not what they meant it for, that's what happened for sure.
Like there are just certain artists where you're like, that's just it is weddings or gay bars. Like that's and now there's like drag shows, involved in it too. But like,
Right.
you can just put that under the umbrella of gay bars.
Of gay bars. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, what are we talking about today?
Not ABBA.
Not
But
ABBA. Well, thank goodness, because I know very little about ABBA. I could sing their songs.
yeah. I was like, do they have any drama? I don't know.
I
They're not
literally know
like I'm
nothing.
like I
I
just think I'm
literally know
like
nothing about ABBA.
I'm like thinking like Fleetwood Mac drama. I'm like, do we have that kind of drama? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, ABBA has to have drama, right? Like, I feel like all like well-known bands have to have drama. How can you be like that famous and have zero drama? That's just, I don't think that's possible.
I don't know. Someone's yelling at us right now. Probably a gay boy yelling at us right now. Starting I don't know. No, today we are talking about what did we say? When you actually want to make a change.
I feel like we should write it down so you don't get confused every
Well, we
time I
talked
ask
about
you
it so many
something.
different ways, but I feel like there was a different way that we said, but I don't
No,
know.
I think that's what we said. When
Hmm.
you want to make I
Yeah,
don't think we said actually. I think we said just when you want to make a change.
when you want to make a change. Because last time we talked about, dealing with change when you don't necessarily maybe want it or
Right.
expect it.
Right.
But this time more of like, yeah, when you actually want to make a change and, and that could be a smaller, large way within relationships and everything, but it's like, no, like you want the change to happen and like, what is that? Yeah. What then happens and what to
Yeah.
expect and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and also just even inside of deciding to make a change, like sometimes it's a happy decision. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, like we're gonna make this change or we're gonna shift or
Right.
whatever it is. But sometimes even when you're like, sure about it, it's still not happy necessarily.
No,
You
I
know?
mean, I think it's like sometimes it's out of like that necessity or just being like, no, like if this is going to progress in this way, like a change needs to get made, and like, so you're
Right.
being a little bit more, I don't know, not necessarily proactive about it, but just being like a little bit more at the forefront of like being like, okay, yeah, I mean, does not mean happiness or anything, because I think it also is just like we said last time, it's like there's usually going to be some level of grief, even when maybe that
Yeah.
change is going to perhaps serve you better in the future or
Yeah.
like moving forward. But it's like, I think that's just the thing that you know comes up for so many people where it's just like, dude, grief's gonna be part of it. Even when it's like the grief is over the smallest thing about a situation, like, that still will be there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, even if it's like that either you are already happy about the change or you know that you need to make this change and you know that it will be better in the future or better for you or better for the relationship or whatever in the future. There's still that part where it's yeah, you're ending a chapter. You're ending something that has been going on for however long it's been going on for. And whenever I think about like deciding to make a change in my life or in relationships, I do think about it in the context of like, I don't know, like the word like sincerity comes up for me, like being solemn and sincere, just being like, yes, I know that this needs to happen. And for
mm,
me, that kind of captures like the willingness and wanting to make the change, but also the sadness and the grief that's there, like
mm,
knowing that like something is going to end because something, we're changing something.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, that's happening. What are you gonna do?
Um,
Everyone's relationships change.
yeah, yeah. Well, however you come to acceptance, I also think that people have a different experience of acceptance as well. But I think
Oh
if
yeah.
if you're at the point of yes, that we're going to make this change or I'm deciding to make this change, then there is an amount of acceptance that you have. And maybe not fully, maybe it's not 100% acceptance. Maybe you're just like, I accept that this is the change that needs to happen, even if you don't fully accept or want.
Hmm. Feel like I accept that acceptance perhaps may come at some point in time about
Yeah.
this.
Well, because I think that was the first thing that we were talking about was like before the changes made, like change, the decision to change something can happen in a moment,
Hmm.
but the actual shift of that
Mm,
change is a process. And so
right.
that was what we wanted to really talk about, focus on,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's also just, especially when it comes to like coaching or, therapy work or whatever, it's like people will come to us and be like, I want to make a change about something, right?
Right.
Probably multiple things. And it's like, so it's like there is that decision around, yes, I want to change this pattern in relationships, or I want to change this habit I have in moments of conflict or communication, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's there. And it's like, yeah, if it was just like, okay, for sure, I just want to change it. I'm going to change it now. Okay, cool. It's like, oh, yeah, what do you want to do? Like, it's like, what do you want to do instead? Oh, I want to be peaceful and pause and blah, 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 blah. And Yeah, that sounds great. It's like, yeah, but then it's the process then from there
Um,
of actually making the change and, knowing that the process is like one of those like those drawings where it's like squiggly lines
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah,
You know.
what you think it's going to look like, straight
Yeah.
from A to B, what it actually looks like is like, yeah, that massive like squiggly line.
Right, exactly. And it's like that's the thing,
Maze.
we're yeah, it's like we were talking about it in the sense of like, oh, when someone's like, yeah, I want to release this pattern, I want to release this mindset, or I want to release whatever it is, around something in the relationship. And it's like, yeah, for sure, release it, let it go, all the things. And like that process is a process. Like it's like that's like, it's something that's going to be the squiggly messiness. And we were talking about like, yeah, like the different iterations of what that looks like, and it's not going to be some perfect experience where you're like, oh my God. Like, I mean, sometimes, yeah, for sure, I think there are some moments where for whatever reason there are those things where you just like, yep, I'm letting it go, and you let it go, and it's like God's light shining upon you, and like that is completely possible for
And it has, I feel like we've all had those moments too, where it's just like that kind of like massive shift happens, or like that big breakthrough, or that big aha moment, or that
yeah.
moment where you're like, oh my God, I had no idea that I was being this way, or that this was how this was impacting this thing, or like da da da, da, and you see it, you recognize it, and you literally shift it like in a moment. Like that totally does happen.
That's
But
all I'm like, it's a possibility for sure.
yeah, yeah, but it's also not the most common way that change
Right.
happens.
And it's also like even in those kinds of situations, like where you're like, oh my God, I'm not gonna do that ever again. I see it now, and it's like
Yeah.
years down the road and like different contexts, and then you're like, oh no, like I can feel the quote unquote temptation towards it, and it's like, but it's just like that. It is that process where it's like you release a big chunk of it for sure in that moment, and it's like, especially when it comes to like patterns and like habits in relationships and stuff, like it's like
Mhm.
most of the time they're pretty like ingrained from like your upbringing, or like if you're in a long-term relationship, like this is just the dance with this person. And so it can be really hard to in that long term when when you're having a lot of more emotional challenges at some point, you're like, oh man, what would be great is if I could just lose it on this person and I would just feel so great about that.
Yeah.
Like it's just like that kind of experience, right? It's like the same when you want to, stop eating fucking candy, I don't know, and then you like stop doing it, or sweets, and then there's like that
Or
day where you're
soda.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's just that day where you just had a terrible day at work, or you just had a breakup or whatever, and you're just like, oh my God, I just want some peanut M&Ms right now. And it's like, that kind of experience because of, just knowing that that's what your go-to has been for years
Right.
or decades. It's like, yeah, and you've been working on it for, 5 years now, but it's like in comparison to 30 years,
Right.
so, it is. And that's why saying like that is part of that process in the like um sustaining of it, I suppose, at some point and everything too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, and, I think what we were more planning on talking about today is really that like process of change. But yeah, I really love that, even talking about like, yeah, those big aha moments, like that's still a process or can be a process. And, and both of us have heard this too, where clients feel like they have, conquered something, right? Where they're like, oh, I've made this change. And then
Mhm.
maybe, yeah, like 6 months down the line or a year down the line, like something comes up and they're like, oh, I thought that I had handled this already. And
Yeah.
so then there's a tendency to be ashamed or embarrassed, or even think like have the thought that the work that you did wasn't as meaningful
Mhm.
or productive as you thought that it was. And that's just not the case.
Right.
Like it's totally normal to have cycles and to have, again, those reoccurring patterns, like you said,
Mhm.
that you did this pattern for 12 years and it's only been 6 months.
Yeah.
since you had that aha moment. So it's totally normal for it to resurface or to pop up again in some way. Like there's no need to feel like embarrassed or ashamed, about that. And also the work that you did or have done or the breakthrough that you had was still just as meaningful. And the other thing that I tell people inside of that situation too is that the great thing about you having that breakthrough is that, and what's happening right now with it resurfacing again, is that now you're able to see it. Like you're able
Right.
to be aware of it. You're conscious of it. It's not an unconscious thing anymore. It's like,
Right.
oh, look, I'm aware that this is surfacing for me. I'm aware of what these feelings mean. I'm aware of what these thoughts mean. I'm aware that, yeah, I had this trigger called stress, and now my response is I want to eat an entire bag of peanut M&Ms.
Yeah, we
It's
all
like
been there.
that's okay. Like that's okay. And that's normal that comes up for you.
Mhm.
And so even in those big aha moments, there still can be a process.
Yeah, no, I mean, because it's also like your relationship to the thing is constantly changing in it all, right? And it's like, that awareness of going, oh yeah, I feel this tendency because of whatever it is, and like stress. And then so you can be like, okay, so I'm going to work on being more mindful of stress because I know what
Right.
that then brings into play with, this trigger or whatever it is, right? And so it's like all of that is adding more to like create more of that like fortification, if you will, of whatever the behavior you actually want to engage in. And
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, that is why it's part of the process, to show you like, hey, also just in case some stress comes, you might want to consider that. Or hey, just in case something, you get sick, you might want to consider this, whatever it is, right?
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's really easy. People start to beat themselves up, but it's like you're not now immune to being a human.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I changed this thing. It's like, yeah. And life will do its thing.
It's true. It's true. And
And
yeah,
so
sorry.
yeah. No, go for it.
Well, that's also why when you're changing something to be to be aware of what you're changing something from and to,
Hmm.
right? So, using myself as an example inside of like a change, like a big change that's been like a huge process over years for me has been around anger and my reactions to things, and having like a lot of the time like my reaction to things is anger. And so yeah, like one of the first things to to do is to be like, okay, instead of being angry, I want to do what? What's the goal?
Hmm.
And so for me, it's like instead of being angry, I want to be responsive. That's kind of like I didn't even go to like peaceful or like anything like that. I was just like, I just want to not react that way.
Yeah, I'm like that is usually what people are like. I don't want to react. I want to respond.
I want to
Right.
respond. Yeah, exactly. And so like I wasn't like, oh, I just want to be this like Zen Buddhist master. I was
Right.
like, no, I just want to respond
Right.
instead of react.
No, that's common for sure.
Yeah, and so but like then it's also recognizing what the so first of all being like what do you want to replace it with? Because if you're just like, "Oh, I just want to be not angry." Well, you don't have anything else to do. You just have angry or not angry, which if you think about what not angry is, it's just angry.
Right. You're like, wait, I need to press a button. But I
Yeah.
don't know which one. It's like, well, all we have is the red button. And you're like, oh, well, I guess we should press the red button then. Like, like you didn't install the blue button to respond or whatever it
Right,
is.
right, right. Exactly. So you have to have from the old button, you have to create a new button, right? And right now it's just the idea of a new button, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
And then you have to recognize, and Lee's already pointed this out, you have to recognize what is the trigger of that thing.
Mhm.
Right. So for me with anger, it's like, okay, what triggers that? And again, for me with anger, there was a lot of things that triggered that.
Yeah.
And so finding the common denominator for me was the feelings in my body that I started calling it pre-anger. My pre-anger.
It's like pre-stress, pre-anxiety, all those things.
Yeah, it's like the how you feel in your body when you can feel your body preparing to
Yeah.
get angry about something.
Dude, that is like honestly one of the questions I ask people all the time in coaching, and they're
Yeah,
like, "Oh," I'm like, "What tends to show you're going off the cliff? Like,
right.
what's going on?" They're like, "Oh yeah, these things," but it's like, yeah, back it up to the pre-stage.
Right. Yeah. And so then starting to notice, and that was also like part of the process was not necessarily creating all of this all at once and then executing it. It was like first creating, I would rather respond. Great.
Hmm.
No behavior change has happened yet,
Hmm.
right? It's literally just the thought. Instead of reacting, I want to respond. And then second stage was, trying to do that.
Yeah, it's like, well, if
Trying
I
to do
want
that.
to do that, what do I think
Right.
could help in that? Recognizing that it's like this is the experiment stage.
Hmm.
Like if you go out there and you're going, I'm just gonna respond right away, it's like you're
Right.
gonna like, look, let's see what we can do here.
Right. Because what it first looked like for me was just stopping.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't responding, it was just stopping. Like I would
Mhm.
just stop myself and then I would just walk out of the room without saying anything, by the
Yeah.
way, because I
Like not
did
ideal, but also
not ideal, but at least I wasn't like responding in or reacting in
reactive.
anger. I
Yeah.
was just like stopping myself and then walking out of the room, which did cause its own problems, but it was better than the problems that would have been caused had I
Yeah.
reacted in anger.
Like, do I do option A or option B? Well, which of the two are the worst of them? It's like, okay, well, knowing that they're both not great, which one is worse? And it's like, okay, I made progress.
Yeah, exactly. Because I made progress. I didn't react in anger. And that was really, and then the next stage of that was because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself to even have anything at all come out of my mouth because I
Mhm.
really felt like I would just like I would say all of the things that you know, in reaction rather than the things that I wanted to say, right?
Mhm.
And so that was kind of, the next step. And then the next step was me being able to verbalize, I have to walk away now,
Mhm.
right? Like that was the next step. And again, this happened over like months and years, by the way.
Right,
This
right.
was not like a, 2-week thing.
Week program, you know?
This was over a long period of time. And then the next stage of that was giving a time frame. You know, I need to leave. I will be back in 30 minutes. And I think I actually started with an hour or an hour and a half, or maybe I even started with, I can talk to you about this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like it was a longer period
Yeah,
of time. I was like, I will not be okay in 5 minutes. Like
for sure. Yeah, yeah. No.
like
See,
that's not gonna
process.
happen.
Process.
Process, exactly. It's like, or I can talk to you about this later. Maybe I didn't even give a time frame at first. I'm not sure. But I started to be able to like verbalize,
Yeah.
and then I started to be able to give some semblance of a time frame. And then that time frame started getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Mhm.
Instead of a couple days, it was the next day. Instead of the next day, it was tonight. Instead of tonight, it was in an hour. Instead of an hour, it was half an hour. Instead of an half an hour, it was 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And like, but again, that happened, probably that process of shortening that time between how much, I needed to like process my anger that took at least 6 years,
Mhm.
you know? Like
Yeah, no, I mean, the time frame stuff is hard
that's really hard. That's really challenging.
because in that's the thing is like you it's like those What are those little Russian dolls, the little wooden Russian dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, within just that, that what you're seeing on the surface of, oh, I'm working on, I walked out and now I can say, I'm gonna walk out, and now I'm saying I'm gonna be back tomorrow or whatever it is, like that whole thing. But it's like within all of that, within the like time frames, it's like the smaller wooden dolls within that of like, what are you doing then to help yourself get to the point of, oh, instead of, yeah, 2 days, like what would help me do a day and a half, and it's like,
Right.
oh, I'm working more on, I don't know, mindfulness. I'm working on whatever, to like help. And then it's like all those things are part of that larger process. But it's like, that's why it gets so intricate, because it's like, and that's why it's going to take years or whatever it is, because it's like, yeah, it's not just, oh, okay, next time it's going to be whatever, 20 minutes. It's like, okay, what's going to help you get there,
Right. And it was also like it wasn't that progression of like, oh, well, now it's a day and a half, so it's never going back to 2 days.
Right.
It was like, okay, this time it was 3 days, the next time it was 1 day, the next time it was 2 days, the next time it
Right.
was 4 days, the next time it was that night. Like it also wasn't like this beautiful, like linear progression in that either.
No, for sure. I mean, it's like that's why, especially in like coaching sessions, like every time like clients come to me with those kinds of things where they're like, man, it took me 4 days this time. Last time it only took me a day. And I'm like, great. What do you think caused that? Because it's like that's the thing, is like to be able to notice like, oh, what
Right.
really worked about that day process, right? Like what happened that you think was really supportive of that? And what do you think led to, oh, the 4 day thing? And it's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I haven't been really getting a lot of great sleep because,
Yeah.
work or the baby. And then you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, that makes sense that it took you 4 days
Right. If
because,
you're only getting 3 hours of sleep a night, like,
yeah, it's like, okay, so you know that, when your energy is low, you also need to be able to readjust your expectations for yourself too around something that you're actively practicing and, working on, right? Because it's like
yeah.
if you're not in your optimal, it's like with athletes, if someone's like injured, are we going to expect them to perform at like the highest level? No, we're going to be like, no, their ankle's jacked up. So I'm going to have expectations of someone who, yeah, they're a professional. Like for sure, they're not going to be like the kid outside, but they're also their ankles kind of is jacked up, so they're
Right.
gonna need to do things, right? And so it's just that's why it's like looking at all those things where you're like, what led to it being this? What led to it being that? What do you think caused this and this? Because it's all of
Yeah.
that is building that understanding around the whole change
Yeah.
and going like, oh, that's right. When I get better sleep, when I whatever, have a snack, oh, look at that. Like that really comes into play for me in this change, and it can seem like unrelated, but then you start to understand it more, right? Like you're studying
Yeah.
the behavior.
Well, and that's exactly it because, inside of this, and also like inside of these years, like this wasn't the only thing that I was working on. Like
Yeah, for,
it wasn't like the only thing that I was focused
yeah,
on
for,
was, my anger. It was
yeah,
like I was focused on a bunch of other different things.
yeah,
And so it was also just like a part of the other things that I was working on. But you're right, like it all ties in together because in noticing things around my anger, it was like I would notice things in my relationship. It's like, oh, well, that took 4 days because of what had happened, like because of the event that made me angry. Like,
mhm,
and also the other part of this too, for anybody else who resonates with this, like the other part of it too was accepting my anger as well.
mhm,
And also like not making my response or excuse me, my reactions okay necessarily, but validating my anger. Like being like,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
that is a completely valid response. Like
To
the
something
anger
happen.
itself is a completely valid emotion to
Right.
arise in these scenarios. Like it wasn't like I was just randomly getting angry about things. Like
Yeah.
it was like there were things that were coming up where it's just like, man, that was really fucked up. Like that wasn't cool. That was rude. That was mean. That was inconsiderate. That, that really didn't work. That wasn't communicated well. That was like absolutely legitimately not okay on the other person's part. And so anger was a completely valid thing to feel. So it wasn't necessarily that I was trying to, what I learned in this process too is like, what am I trying to change here? Where it's like, oh, I'm actually not trying to change my anger.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to change my behavior
Right.
around my anger. And I think that when you start this process of change, that you'll, discover those things along the way. And also part of it for myself, one of the discoveries that I had for myself was also not blaming myself for so many things. Like one
Mm.
of the reasons why I was getting so angry was because I was like taking a lot more on as my fault than was
Mm.
actually true.
Mm.
Um, and so that was also a part of it as well. So yeah, exactly. Like as you're making this change and as you're being conscious of it and as you're asking yourself these questions like why did I respond that way? Or I set this goal for myself, like why didn't it work the way that I wanted it to? Why am I struggling with this? Or what else is happening? Or what are the other factors here? Is really illuminating for your growth. And so I was also healing a lot of other things inside of this inquiry that I'm honestly still working on,
Yeah.
because, I do tend to, and I've gotten way better, like so much better. And it's still something that comes up and being able to ask these questions and be conscious about it and look at it from multiple angles helps me heal guilt, helps me uh, be more grounded in the reality of the situation, helps me accept myself more and be okay with who I am and how I feel things and, what comes up for me and have a lot more compassion for myself too, like compassion and understanding for myself as well. So, in this process of change and looking at it from multiple directions, you end up like healing and growing in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. I know. I mean, that's why I freaking love working on this stuff with like clients.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, like I love really helping people doing like get more like gentle and compassionate towards themselves, like being like, oh yeah, I'm a human. I'm gonna, do things that humans do. And I'm like, yeah, man. But because of like when you slow down and look back at like, like you're just doing now and like looking at like the progress, like even though you've done this, I mean, like you've looked at this progress, however many times I've been like, oh yeah, like I've done these changes. But it's like every time you look at that, you go, oh yeah, like that's right. I've been working on XYZ, and like seeing the like compassion that you're, increasing in towards yourself because you're like, yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with the anger. Like, I mean, it's like the same thing with like any kind of behavior. It's like, oh, I want to change not, whatever, reacting, or I want to change not yelling at someone or running away as quickly as possible. It's like, okay, but what's causing that, right? And it's like, oh, well, when I feel anger, that's just my, instant thing is to go like to react, whatever. It's like, okay, so I want to change the reactivity. I don't want to change the anger. It's like when I feel sad, instead of like, oh, I need to stop being sad, it's like, well, what would help you in that response, that you want to do, right? And in that, it's like you do allow a lot more of the like your humanness in that experience and being
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, of course that would be really hurtful that this thing happened. And it makes sense that I would want to run away in that situation because of things in the past or whatever it is. And it's like,
Yeah.
and I am, this is me choosing like to change that, like choosing to change
Right.
running away because I want to be able to be in those spaces in this relationship. And also my sadness is involved in that, right? Like my
Yeah.
sadness can be there with me or my anger can be there with me.
Mhm.
And it's like in that process, you're like, yeah, I'm allowing more of my humanity into the space. And so it's like, oh yeah. And that's why it's like that whole thing. I'm like, there's so many things that you freaking find out on like doing this. Like I'm telling you, the Russian dolls. It was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this thing and that thing and shame and guilt and blah 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 blah. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like Heck yeah, I thought it was just like my reactivity, but it's, that's the whole thing is like, that's why it's not a one and done situation where they're like, hey, I want to, it's like when people come, they're like, I just want one coaching session. And I'm like, for what? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do in this one coaching session? Like, it's like, okay. And then you want to change that behavior. It's going to take some time, friend, and it's kind of, that's just how it works. Like, it's
Yeah.
not, there's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
Like, just, it's
No
part.
faulty programming.
Yeah, no faulty programming, and I think, I mean, that would just lead me off on a whole tangent about how people just like where everyone just wants everything right now instantly because of society and how we are now. But anyway, we won't go off on that. But it's just like keeping that in mind too. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
No, people do. People want instant gratification, and I think with change, not I think, I know, it is true, it is factual about change that there really isn't a lot of instant gratification in change. And like we said at the beginning, there are some things that start to shift quickly, but everything is a process.
mhm,
And so it's okay and it's normal that things happen over time. And, when one of the things we talked about before hitting play is the nervous system work involved in this. And so one of the benefits to it happening over time is that you can integrate this with your nervous system because your nervous
right,
system is like moves at the pace that your nervous system does, and
yeah,
everyone is different, but integrating these changes into your life, but also into your experience of yourself, and how you move throughout the day, the week, the month is in your nervous system. And that takes time and it needs to take time in order to be healthy, right?
right, yeah, yeah. You are experiencing the world through your nervous system. Like that
Yeah.
is like. And and it's that thing like if we just take the, I want to let go of this pattern of running away in conflict, right? It's
Yeah.
like if you were to then just go, because there's a reason why that is your response, right? Like your
And that's your
autonomic,
nervous system
yeah,
response.
that's your autonomic nervous system being like, danger, boop, get out, right? Because of whatever has happened in the past. So if you're like, oh, I just need to let that go. So then like next moment of conflict that you have and you're like, I just need to stay. If you like are like forcing yourself to stay, that is going to freak out your nervous system because it's like, why would you stay when the lion is right there, you idiot? Like, what are you doing? And then you start having a panic attack. And then you're like freaking out more. And then it's like you're just fried because it's like, yeah, it's not that instant like thing of I'm going to stop now. Like that's it. It's like that's why it takes like, like what you're just using your example with the anger over a course of years. It's like every step of the way, it's like your nervous system is going, hey, it's okay.
Right.
Like you're working with your nervous system like, hey, we're okay, we can go back, like all that kind of stuff versus
Yeah,
the old habit, right? And so it's like that
totally.
tinkering takes, especially certain behaviors and patterns, it's going to take a lot more tinkering than
Yeah.
others.
And I always use my anger as an example, or I use my anger as an example a lot because it is something that was like, that has been a big change in my life that I've been working on for a long time. And to illustrate that, and also it's nervous system work because the reason that I, reacted in anger, like why that was a response for me is because that's a fight response. Like that is a, yeah, autonomic nervous system fight response. Like I have to be bigger, badder, scarier. Like that's my nervous system. My nervous system is like, you have to react this way or else you won't be safe. You will be you will be destroyed if
Yeah.
you
Or yeah, you're not going to be heard. You're not going to be understood. You're not, like, you're not going to be, whatever valuable in this dynamic. Right. And so it's like,
Right.
make yourself heard.
Right.
yell.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like make yourself heard, make yourself understood, make sure that the other person knows that you're serious. Like I think a lot of mine was like the understood, like wanting people to take me seriously, like being like, no,
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like this is a
Right.
like I'm serious, this is a big deal. You hurt me, this is how you hurt me. Like you need to understand, right? And
Right.
if you don't understand, then you're gonna keep hurting me. Like that was kind of
Yeah,
like
exactly.
yeah
Yeah.
the response or the reaction rather. I keep saying
Yeah.
response when I mean reaction. But that was the reason for that reaction. And it's like over the course of time, my nervous system getting used to understanding, recognizing that I don't need to react that way in order to be safe, in order to be understood, in order to be taken seriously, in order for the pain to not happen again, because that's kind of the other part of it for me was like, if I make this a huge deal, then it won't happen again. You know,
Right.
like I'm ensuring my safety not just in this moment, but in in into the future, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No.
so it's a long process for my nervous system to recognize that, we don't need to react in that way in order to get the result that we wanted, which is to, yeah, be heard, be understood, to have the bad thing not happen again.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Process.
Yeah, and it's also, and the other thing about this too that in inside of relationships is that it's a lot of healing in relationships
Mm.
too. So it's a lot of like building evidence for that I
Mm.
don't need to react in that way. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I had some very unhealthy relationships that I wasn't gaining a lot of evidence for
Mhm.
inside of that as well. So that also made it really challenging too. And that was like something that I recognized more hindsight 2020 where I was like, "Oh wow, yeah, like, one of the reasons why it was really hard for me to heal in that way was because I was being in situations that were like very harmful." And
Mhm.
so it's hard for my nervous system to be like, "Oh, are you kidding, dude? Like you do need to protect yourself right now.
Mhm.
Like fucking go for it."
Yeah. Mhm.
Right? And so it's a lot harder when you're not in environments that also support that change and that healing as well.
Which is usually what you get attracted to. But we can talk about that in a second.
You write it down, put it in the notes. But yeah, so there are it's a multi-factored thing. And also I think what is coming up for me in us talking about this is I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, dear listener, dear watcher. I don't want you to feel
Dear ABBA lover.
dear ABBA lover. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by all this, like, oh my God, everything's connected and where do I start? And da, da, da. Start with what you feel is most important to you.
Mhm.
Start with the thing that you feel would make the biggest difference. Like that's one of the reasons why like I chose anger was because I was like, wow, this is a really big thing
Yeah.
for me. This is something that I see as really important. This is something that I also like that I also, would really like to change. Like this is like at the forefront of my mind when it comes to conflict and relationships, you know? So just choose the thing that you feel is most important, or most forefront of your mind. And then everything else, like as you do this healing work, whether that be in therapy or coaching or classes or whatever it is that you're, whatever modality, whatever road you're going down, um, uh, like the other things, the connections of everything else will make themselves known. You don't have to figure it out beforehand.
Right. Yeah.
That would be
Just pick
overwhelming.
somewhere. You
Yeah.
just like boop boop. Okay, done.
Yeah.
All right. It does because it does come up. It will just like naturally if it's connected to it, it'll come.
It's because it's there. Because
Yeah, like
as
it's just
you,
like it's woven in,
yeah.
and so it's like you'll get there.
Yeah, it's like as you walk down the path, you'll see the aspen tree, you'll see the blackberry bushes, you'll see the, ocean. Like you don't have to like it would be weird if you were going on a hike to be like, oh, when is the aspen tree gonna come up? When are the blackberry bushes there? When is the ocean gonna be here? And da 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 da. And like, how am I gonna plan for that? And blah 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 blah. And like, sure, there's some like pre-planning that you can do, but there's also some things that like you don't even know are going to come up. Like
Yeah.
as you go down this path, as you go on this hike. It's like we were I just had a mental picture of the last hike that we went on and seeing the like these massive like banana slugs.
Oh yeah.
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 I'm just like, yeah, great analogy. Because just like, oh shit, like we did not know that we were going to see these massive, freaking massive banana slugs.
They look like little moo-moos.
Um,
Yeah.
Anything else about just the process of being in the process of change, like making the decision to change and being in that process?
No, I mean, I think the main thing is just like it's a process, Like if you're like, ah, today I've made the decision to change this thing, it's like great, love that. Here comes the next bit of time where you're working on that, right? Like it is not just like, oh, you just let it go or whatever. Um, it's like, okay, but like there are other things that will come up, right? And so then you're like working intentionally on it for the next whatever, 6 months in coaching or 6 years throughout these different things, right?
Yeah.
Like it's that's just part of what it is, right? And so I think it's just like letting that letting that be like it's not just like a boop boop done.
Yeah, and also in letting things go, that recognizing, like, you can let things go,
Hmm.
and that can be its own process sometimes. Like, and some things are easier to let go than others. And I think that everybody's had that experience, you know?
Yeah, the
Like,
different, yeah.
yeah, where I think that that's a pretty common, what am I trying to say? I don't think that we have to explain that.
Yeah,
I think
no, there's
everyone
some
is
things
well.
that are harder to let go than
Yeah.
others. We all know that because you'll then start to think, well, why can't I just let this go? Because I was able to let this other thing go just fine. And it's like, well, great question. What do you think is causing that? It's like, yeah, because this thing was like from day one on this world, this is what you've been doing, And so it's like
Yeah.
versus since your first relationship 3 years ago, you know.
Absolutely. I was just having a conversation recently about letting things go in divorce.
Mm,
And I was talking about, my divorce. They were talking about their divorce, but like this person was with their partner for over 12 years.
yeah.
And I was with my partner for 4 years. And so it there were things that were easier for me to let go. And of course, there's multiple other factors, obviously, in relationships
Yeah.
besides the time. But the time is a huge factor too. It's like, no, they had a 12-year relationship. I had a 4-year relationship. There were some things that it was just easier for me to let go than it was for them, you
Yeah.
know? And and they also reminded me, they were like, yeah, and also your relationship was a lot, um, uh, what did they say? They were like, I think they even used the word violent. They were like, yeah, but your relationship was violent.
Yeah, like volatile or something, but yeah.
But anyways, lots of different factors why it's easier or
For
harder to
sure.
let things go, you know.
So it's a process.
It's a process. Yeah. And there's also the resistance of things. That's a whole other factor of it. We resist things as humans. And even when we decide, that we want to change something, it doesn't mean that there aren't things in the process that we won't resist.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Also just
especially
like
the like when you come up against something that you're like, oh yeah, I didn't know that was coming up as part of this. Like I have to let that go. Oh, I don't know about that. I
right.
don't I feel like no. Peanut M&Ms stay. Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we love you.
Love you.
And if you want our help in moving through this change, navigating this change, we would love to work with you. So all of those links are in the description below. So please reach out to us.
You do it.
All right. Love you. We love you.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Queer Love Podcast. We would love to hear from you. Drop us a line on TikTok, Instagram, or Twitter at Queer Love Relationships, or email us at queerloverelationships@gmail.com. If you are interested in working with us, follow the Linktree link in the show notes. See if our offers resonate with you. And if they do, sign up with us or book a discovery session. We are so grateful that you're here, listening, learning, and growing with us. Until next time, keep loving.